2025 through the humanitarian plan that provides dignity and security. This is the third flight of migrants landing in the country in the past 2 days. It is known that the migrants who arrive in a U.S. plane will go through a process of criminal and medical checks and then be taken directly home. Let us remember that those migrants who have returned to the country in the last few weeks have been victims of the fascist plans of the U.S. government, which is developing a plan of persecution and kidnapping against Venezuelans who are on U.S. soil. And the Peruvian justice ratified the decision to another trial against political leader Keiko Fujimori for the alleged irregular financing of her 2011 and 2016 electoral campaigns. The Public Prosecutor's Office will have to restructure part of the investigation and refile the indictment, a process that could take between 1 and a year and a half. A judge will decide whether to open an oral trial for the cocktails case, in which Fujimori and 32 other people linked to her party, Fuerza Popular, are investigated for alleged illegal contribution to their campaigns. Among the alleged donors are the Brazilian construction company Odebrecht and several Peruvian economic conglomerates, although the Fujimorista party defends that the funds were raised through events with supporters during the campaigns. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum presented 18 strategies to strengthen Plan Mexico, a strategy with which the Mexican government seeks to boost the economy in the new global context. During the event, the Mexican president showed the strength of the country's economy with examples such as the jobs created in 2025 that will reach a record high of more than 22 million. She also highlighted the need to strengthen car manufacturing in Mexico and pointed out that the investment portfolio already exceeds $200 billion. Among the strategies presented, she also highlighted the creation of a program that will provide development and commercial banking facilities for micro and small businesses, and that 30% of these will have access to credit. And the new tariffs imposed by Donald Trump on the world will not only affect the international economy, but could also be a setback for the United States itself. Our correspondent Henry Camelo from New York has a story.
La imposición de aranceles globales por parte de la administración Trump.
The imposition of global tariffs by the Trump administration has shaken world markets. After the announcement, the main stock markets closed lower due to the uncertainty of the economic and financial course of this country. China, the European Union, Japan, and South Korea announced retaliatory measures. However, economists expect the economic impact to be much less than anticipated.
En Estados Unidos sea mucho menor de lo que se anticipa.
Yo creo que al final del día el mercado se va a ajustar.
I think that at the end of the day the market will adjust. The other countries can no longer raise tariffs, so what the United States would do would be to raise them even more so that you no longer buy a German car and you end up buying a United States car. No. And that obviously is not going to benefit literally anyone.
No va a beneficiar literalmente a nadie.
Los aranceles para automóviles importados a Estados Unidos.
Tariffs for automobiles imported to the United States went into effect as of April 3rd, and sales have already plummeted, something that has dealership owners very worried.
Preocupados a los dueños de concesionarios.
They're very concerned that the cars are going to become unaffordable, and that's something that we're concerned about as well, because if the cars aren't affordable, then we can't help our customers. You know, that's our primary goal, is make sure that all our customers are served.
Con el nuevo arancel del 25% a los autos.
With the new 25% tariff on imported cars, U.S. consumers will be paying between $5,000 and $15,000 more for the purchase of a new car.
No vamos a poder cambiar de carro.
We are not going to be able to change our car. We are simply going to have to maintain it better, take better care of it, and move on, nothing more.
Cuidarlo más y seguir adelante, nada más.
Según un estudio del Centro de Investigación de la Universidad Yale,
according to a study by the Yale University Research Center, these tariffs will hit the poorest families in the United States the hardest, who could experience a drop in income of up to 5.5%. In that sense, the so-called Liberation Day, for Democrat leaders, is the beginning of a new recession.
Es el inicio de una nueva recesión.
House Republicans, Senate Republicans, and Donald Trump haven't done a single thing to lower the cost of living in this country. Not a single bill, not a single executive order. In fact, Republicans are crashing the American economy in real time and driving us to a recession. This is not Liberation Day, it's Recession Day.
Y de igual manera coinciden economistas de todo el país.
And economists from all over the country agree, predicting an economic recession in the United States as a result of these new tariffs and the economic war that Trump has declared on the world.
Pablo Daniel Ho, y Henry Camelo, teleSUR, Nueva York.
The third International Transport and Logistics Fair 2025 is the commercial meeting point for transport and logistics professionals organized by the Chamber of Commerce of the Republic of Cuba. The third fair concluded on Thursday at the Pabexco Fairgrounds in Havana, which took place from April 1st to the 3rd. The event had spaces dedicated to the promotion of projects, investment opportunities in Cuba, the representation of exhibitors, as well as Cuban and foreign businessmen who have consolidated existing projects and those under negotiation. Key topics were addressed, such as sustainable mobility, efficiency in supply chains, commercialization, repair, manufacture of equipment, and the incorporation of new technologies in the sector. The main objective was the sustainable and resilient development of transportation and logistics in Cuba for a better service to the people and a competitive performance of the economy. The near-bankrupt European Union continues to fund Ukraine's military while pursuing a unified line of sanctions against Russia. There are differences within the bloc. The details with Oleg Jasinski.
Every attempt at peace negotiations between the United States and Russia triggers a wave of panic among the European leaders. With the end of the war, they could lose not only their political project against Russia, Ukraine, but also their own source of income, since it is not clear where the military budget is going.
Europe has lost everything it had to lose. Whatever advantage it might have had, it let it lose, after a series of political mistakes which it still does not admit to this day. And judging by the statements issued, its leaders intend to continue to do so, to continue to support Ukraine as a political project directed against Russia, without understanding that, in fact, Ukraine is both an anti-Russian and an anti-European project. But unfortunately for them, they have not yet realized that.
But all have different economic interests. Germany, as the European Union's largest economy, is under the most pressure due to the loss of access to Russian energy resources and the offshoring of production to the United States. Poland and the Baltic countries take a tougher line on Russia and support continued aid to Ukraine, even if it hurts their economies.
It is necessary to understand that the European Union has made a strategic bet to get out of, I won't even say crisis, but this geoeconomic impasse. Because of the confrontation with Russia, they are up to the brink of war with Russia. It's not because they don't love us, although they don't. It's not because they support Ukraine, although they do. It is because they have no other options to get out of the geoeconomic impasse.
The European economy is stagnating. Inflation is high, interest rates are rising, and businesses are struggling due to high energy prices and falling demand. Social tensions are growing as people struggle to pay their bills and maintain their standard of living.
The question is who will take care of the money that will be allocated. In fact, even during the military actions, grants were allocated for the restoration of all sorts of things. Where is that money going? No one understands, because what is restored now? Even before the start of the special operation, they restored bridges that later fell down, bridges that in fact turned out not to have been restored. That is, they know how to embezzle money. If they want to, they will leave under their control as much of the territory of Ukraine as possible where they can get their share.
The creation of a coalition to send troops to Ukraine could divide the European Union, as not all member states would support such a decision. In conclusion, a worsening political crisis within the Union and a weakening of its position on the international stage, which has become even more evident with the arrival of Trump.
On Friday morning, 208 Venezuelan migrants arrived in the country as part of the Return to the Homeland plan. With this flight, there are now more than 2,000 Venezuelan nationals that have returned in 2025 through the humanitarian plan that provides dignity and security. This is the third flight of